But first, I want to thank you for your time. I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with
Oh,
me
thank you
today.
for having me.
No, my pleasure. I think you've had such an interesting career going from journalism to acting. So, can you
Mhm.
talk a little bit about that transition for you and why did you make the jump from sports journalism to acting?
Yeah, it's been a long path. I think I started as a musician in a heavy metal band, and then the band dissolved when I was 17, 18. I didn't know what to do, and the label offered me to write for them. So I started doing the music journalism first, going to concerts, talking to musicians, and I did that for like 2 years. It just wasn't sufficient financially enough for me to live off that. So I always liked sports and decided to give it a shot. And then, suddenly I had a pretty big career because I spoke English and German. The local media were, pushing me forward, and I also liked NBA basketball. So not too many people in Poland were specialists in NBA basketball, and it became suddenly very popular. And so I was being sent to the United States once or twice every year to
Hmm.
do some reporting on NBA. I met Kobe Bryant, who is from Philadelphia, by the way.
Yeah.
I went actually in 1998. That's when for the first time I met Kobe Bryant. But I also went to Philly to see the Sixers, and I talked to Allen Iverson for the first time in my life. He
Wow.
was, I think, in his second season. They were not a very good team, but he was an incredible player.
Right. Yeah.
And like looking back, because at the time, like he annoyed me because he almost like ignored me. But at some, like looking back, he was so pure in what he was as a human being and as a player. Like there was so much truth to it. I didn't quite appreciate it at that time, but looking back, like he's definitely a character. I think there should be a movie about him. Somebody should play him. He was a very distinguished character and a very pure and real to himself. Like, he was a real person. Well, anyway, that's let's not get sidetracked. So I met Kobe, and I was coming back. I was doing this in all my 20s. I had a pretty good career. I was still living in Poland at that time, and in 2007, I came to LA. I already started like flirting with an idea of doing something else in life, and I was looking what it's going to be because it felt like I jumped on that sports journalism train, but it wasn't like my goal in life. It
Mm,
was just a job,
right.
which I liked, but it was just a job. So once I turned 30, I decided, it's time to find what I really want to do. And I had this conversation with Kobe, and I told him about my idea of trying maybe in Hollywood. I still wasn't sure as a writer, as an actor. It's kind of late for acting, but maybe I'll go to acting school. Maybe I'll try. And he told me, "What is your heart telling you?"
Mm.
And I said, "My heart is telling me to try." He said, "Then follow your heart." And so I did, and I'm here.
I love that so much. Um, I think it does take a certain skill to be a journalist and to do journalism. Do you think that you took some of those skills as a journalist and translated that into your acting career?
Yeah, 100%. I would say probably because my way of journalism was more like being a reporter, someone who is being sent to different places, different cities, different countries, and paints a picture of either a person or a situation. I wasn't like a news
Anchor,
journalist
yeah,
or like a
yeah.
sensationalism gossip journalist. I was never that interested. I was never interested in that.
Hmm. Hmm.
But to like get to know someone and like paint write a story about him or a situation. Like for me, like I remember when I first came to Chicago in 2000, and I went to a baseball game, and I didn't even know rules of baseball, but I wrote a story about the culture of
Hmm.
people going on Tuesday night, 40,000 people going to a Chicago Cubs game, a team that at that point didn't win anything in 100 years and was always losing, and still there were 40,000 people on Tuesday afternoon. Some of them didn't even pay attention to the game. So, like you see those things, and it makes you an observer of life, and I think that also helps with acting.
Yes, yes, you're so true. So let's talk about Superman.
Mhm.
It's one of the biggest movies of the year. A lot of people were anticipating it. How did you land that role? And was Superman even a comic that you were into growing up?
Yeah, that 100%. That was the only comic actually I was into, and then later maybe Spider-Man too. But first Superman, I was a big fan of Superman. I remember I was living growing up in communism, in an early childhood part of my life. Then when I was 11, 12, the system has changed, and they brought some international movies and cartoons into the Polish TV. So when I remember I was in school and I got sick and I was stuck at home for a week, and I was watching those Superman cartoons in like around like 1990, and recording them on VHS and rewatching them. And I really liked them a lot. I really liked them a lot. That was my favorite character at the time. But I would say from all the characters of all time, that was my second favorite. So I really, once I started acting, I really wanted to be in Superman movie, and I still want to be my number one character of all time is James Bond. That's my
Okay.
favorite character.
Okay.
So now I'm channeling my inner thoughts towards that goal, and so far it worked. Because I remember in 2020 when the pandemic started and I was spending a lot of time by myself because the everything shut down in Los Angeles was brutal. I went to
Mhm.
Atlanta like 7, 8 months later, and everything was open. I was able to breathe a little bit. But in LA, 2020 was like shut down, and
Mhm.
nothing was open. You couldn't even find a barber.
Wow.
That was brutal. So I had time to reflect. I had time to set up goals, and my goals were to get on Stranger Things, Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, and Better Call Saul, and I did all three. And then I wanted to
Mhm.
be in Superman movie, and I did that too. And now I start my Operation James Bond. Last night I started it. As a matter of fact, I put the list of all the Denis Villeneuve films, and I'm gonna watch all of them. Started with Sicario last night, and I'm gonna watch all of them, and I'm gonna prepare myself mentally to channel working with him in the future on the next James Bond movie.
Well, I don't doubt it. Like if you really manifested all these other opportunities for yourself, so I don't doubt it. We'll see you in a James Bond flick.
Yeah.
But in Superman, can you talk a little bit about your character?
Mhm.
And I read that originally you weren't even supposed to have that many scenes, but
Yeah.
your character was so great that you got extended to more on camera time.
Well, that's the I would say the optimistic way to look at it, and definitely I hope that's the case. But also, to be quite truthful, I only got the portion of the script to prepare, so I don't know if they were like giving me parts of it to protect the story, and they didn't give me everything all at once,
Right.
or they actually did give me those additional scenes on the spot. I think it's maybe one or another, but the truth is I ended up being in 6 scenes. I auditioned for a role that had initially 2 scenes, and then there was a third scene that I got a week before the filming, and then there were 3 more that I got uh, prior to filming, really, on the day of filming. Although I'm sure they considered it before, because knowing how James Gunn works and working with him on for those days when I was shooting Superman, I can tell you one thing, that he's super super prepared. Like
Mm.
he moves fast because he really really knows what he wants, and he's so prepared for everything he does. I've never worked with a director that knew exactly what he wants, knew his team knew exactly how to adjust, where to be, what to do, and it was by far the most efficient run set I've seen my entire life. And I've worked on some really big movies and shows.
Right, right. That's good to the culture on set for you. You did mention how you didn't have all the scenes up front, and I
Mhm.
know these well, not a superhero, but these comic book movies are often very secretive. Like a lot of
Very
people,
secretive.
the actors don't even know half the time what's going on until you're on set. So does that change how you approach the character or approach the project? Like how do you prepare for that when you aren't or when you're given a little bit of information.
Well, first of all, I'll tell you something. It's funny because like they were sending us so many messages, the studios, that you're not allowed to post, you're not allowed to say that you're involved, you're not allowed this. And then there was a colleague of mine who from day one was posting, sharing photos, and nobody said anything. And then he was in the red carpet for the premiere, and good for him. He had a nice part in it. So you never know like how they look at it. For me, it was the preparation, really. Like when you talk about journalism and how there's a certain discipline that goes with it, that you try to be prepared. Like let's say you work on a story, you want to know as much as possible. I think I carried that into acting. So once I found out, first when I auditioned, I didn't know what I auditioned for. It was codename Genesis,
Mm.
so I didn't know what that is. And so I take my audition, I send it over, and then I found out that I booked it. Once I booked it, then I talked to one person, a friend of mine, and who is a big Superman fan, and he told me exactly how to prepare. So I've watched all the films. I've watched all James Gunn films after that. I listened to his band even from the 80s. He had
Mm.
like a obscure punk rock band called The Icons. I listened to those. Pretty good, very energetic, fun, like James Gunn, like very humorous band. And I didn't have that conversation with him. I hopefully one time, at some point I will, that we listen to a lot of the same music, because like the music that is on Peacemaker, it's a lot of the music I listen to, and I love it. It's my new favorite show. Anyway, going back to the preparation. Usually I don't get that much time to prepare, because when I'm booked on something, it sometimes even shoots the next week. Like that was the case with this TV show, The Staircase. That was the case even with Stranger Things. I had only 1 week to prepare. So in this case, it was 2.5 months. And I did get some phone calls from his assistant, Katie, and we talked about certain things. First, about, regarding the costume and the fitting, and then, the language I'll be speaking, which was Croatian, and then some other stuff. So yeah, so definitely, I had enough time to be ready. And I'll tell you this: for James Gunn film, you better be ready. Because everybody comes so prepared that if you are not 100% ready, that you're gonna struggle. And
Oh.
and he likes to work with the same people, so it's good to be ready and be on good terms
Yeah,
with
well,
that team, because they're pros, they ultimate pros. Those are like really great people in their craft.
you never know. Maybe we'll see you on Peacemaker season 3.
Yeah, I hope so. Or sequel, like, because I didn't get killed. My president got killed, but I didn't.
So you're still alive and kicking.
I'm
But back
still alive. Yeah.
one thing I really did like about you, like you've done a lot of stuff, and you did mention earlier how when you transitioned to acting, you had that fear of, is this too late? Because I'm going to a new career so late in
Yeah.
life, or not even late in life. But I know a lot of people do have that fear when they're trying to transition to
Mhm.
certain careers. Do you have any advice for those people who are out
100%.
there?
100%. And I wish I've had that advice for myself, to be quite honest with you, because I'll tell you, when Kobe told me to follow my heart, I did, but kind of still hesitant. I would still prioritize sports writing when I first moved to LA, because I was afraid to sacrifice, a source of income, and sacrifice something that was my skill set. So I would still go to a lot of games, and I wrote 2 books about basketball. When I in my first years here, and I was like afraid to fully jump into it. And then I talked to him 3 weeks before he died in 2020. And when he died, it was a big shock to me. But then I remembered his advice, and then I realized that I only took half of it into my life, because yes, I did follow my heart. But once you do, there's so-called Mamba mentality. My Mamba mentality
Mm.
is you wake up 4 a.m. and you go for it every day. That's
Wow.
Mamba mentality. And I didn't do that. I would still do other things. I would still sometimes not do any acting for a week, and do just the sports thing. Or I was running a show at the Comedy Store for 3 years, which, was beneficial to me after all, because I got my first agent, first manager, I got on my first TV show thanks to that. But once in 2020, I had that reflection. I fully focused on acting. I was in my 40s at that time, and I didn't have that much in my CV. And then since 2020, for the next 5 years, I got on all those big films and big shows. So it paid off. So the note to myself, if I could give myself a note from like 15 years ago, 20 years ago, it's like, once you commit, you have to fully commit. And that would be my advice to people. Yeah, follow your dreams, but once you do, you gotta fully commit.
I love that. Love that so much. So Martin, before I let you go, Do you have any upcoming projects that you can talk about, or if people want to keep up with you, how can they do that?
Yeah, I'll be. I'm not gonna tell you exactly what I because I think I'm not allowed. I'm gonna be in the new Starfield game, which is a pretty popular game. I did Call of Duty before. That gave me my first group of fans because I didn't even know how big this fan base is. People started like posting my voice lines from the game that reached like millions of views because my character was a very popular character. It was called Kruger. He was like a merciless assassin in the game. So a lot of people played him because he was kind of a mean guy in the game. So I have another iconic game, and I'm very happy that I'm part of it. I'm not gonna tell which character because I don't think I'm allowed. But also, I want people to be surprised because it's a completely different character. Did a short with team from The Simpsons called Butterfly Effect, which I'm very proud of. It's now gonna be in festivals. I played the lead role in that one, and there are a couple of projects that I'm in the middle of getting on. So hopefully everything will work out.
Okay, and I really don't doubt it. I think you are a manifesting man, and I think it will happen for you just the way you want it to.
Thank you so much. It's very nice of you.
No, my pleasure. And I heard you have a birthday coming up, so happy birthday.
Oh, thank you so much. And since you're in Philadelphia, I kind of have a soft spot for the Sixers. I wish the Sixers get better.
You and me
And but you
both.
have the Eagles, so you're spoiled anyway. You have the Eagles.
Yes. If anything, the Eagles will keep us protected when all of our other sports teams let us down.
And by
Um,
the way, it was Kobe's team, the Eagles. He was always a fan of the Eagles because he told me that many, many times. Yeah.
Love it, love it. Martin, it was so great talking to you today. I
Thank you
wish
so
you
much.
nothing but the best looking forward.
Thank you.
And again, thank you for your time.
Thank you.